welcome to TLC, where we dive into the heart of our local community, its wineries, restaurants, business, and real estate. Hi, I'm your host, Troy Anderson, along with my co-host, Pamela, and we're here to bring you a new perspective on what's going on in our community. This week, we do also have a special guest, Mike, and Metheny.
Excellent.
I practiced it, too.
I want to give you a round of applause for that one, Troy.
Yeah,
Well done.
You nailed it.
Mike Metheny, winemaker of Three of Cups Winery right here in Woodinville, just down the street. Mm-hmm. So welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, you brought us in some great wine today. A Mourvedra 2021 from Columbia Valley.
I'm super excited about this one because I'd never heard of it. When Mike brought it in, I was like, now what's that?
We sell GSM. We make a Grenache Syrah Mourvedra blend. That's what we've made from the very beginning, and we make the most of it. Okay. And we always have people asking us, what is Mourvedra on the label, right?
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to make a single varietal of it.
Cool.
Yeah. So that we can answer that question instead of sending them to somebody else.
Right.
To go try it.
I like GSMs. Those are Rhone varietals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so. But the Mourvedra, I've never heard of it.
Well.
Not even in a varietal. Like,
Monastral.
Blank face here.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. I am not the connoisseur.
Right.
I am not the expert. Troy knows a lot more about wine. I just enjoy drinking it, and I think that's half the fun, right?
Okay. I was going to say, that's the French version.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Having grown up in Germany, I'm more okay with German wines than I am with French.
Me too.
Yeah. British, French.
And we also have a Cab Franc from Walla Walla Valley. I'm excited about that. I kind of like Cab Francs. I haven't tasted this one yet, but they tend to be a little more earthy, a little more earth tones to them.
I think it's been a while since we've had a Cab Franc on the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who liked Cab Franc? Was that Jake Wittenberg?
I don't know. It might have been. I don't know. But it has been a...
Why do I recognize that name?
He's on King 5.
Oh, okay. That's why. Okay.
In the morning.
But it's been a while since we've had a Cab Franc, so this is exciting. We've got two brand new ones for us, but the Mourvedra I've never heard of, and the Cab Franc is, it's not the norm. All right, so Troy's going to pour those.
Mike, what do you recommend? Side by side, or just start with the Mourvedra?
If you want to start with one, start with the Mourvedra.
Yeah.
And then
All right, so while Troy's pouring this, color looks really, really good. I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about. I don't.
Yeah, she does.
From over here, it looks great. It's a really great, rich colour. It looks light in the glass as well. So, Mike, tell us a little bit more about this before we get into the tasting. We're going to give it a little swirl and a sniff. That sounds terrible.
Yeah. So
smell.
The reason I picked this one is it's not released yet at our winery. Mm-hmm. I was working on tasting notes last night. I'm usually very slow about tasting notes. And my partner, Lisa Sway, and I own the winery together. And I make the wine. She does compliance, cellar rat, everything else. Yeah. So it's just...
Sounds like my job.
Yeah. It's just the two of us. And then a lot of friends and family. Yeah.
That's cool.
I was working on my tasting notes for this, and I just thought, it'd be fun to bring. And it was tasting really good last night. This was just bottled in July. Okay. So this isn't ready to release by our standards, but it's tasting good, and wanted to get it out there. And like I say, it's always something fun to talk about because you don't see a lot of Mourvedras by themselves.
And so before we get into what we can actually taste in this, because this is what we like to do as part of the show, is kind of have a sip and then...
I've already dove right in.
I know you have. I've had a little sip, but it kind of describe the flavours. And it's always interesting that our perspectives are always very different. Like what Troy and I taste in it is sometimes way other ends of the spectrum. But you said this isn't released yet, so when will this be available to the consumer?
It depends. We'll probably let this go in the spring. We want to send it out for some reviews and get some other people talking about it and build a little hype for it before we throw it out there. And we try and control the number of products that we have available at the winery too for sale. We don't want to take away sales from something else that we want to continue to move and things like that. And we feel we're pretty happy with what we have on the shelf right now. So That's another reason for hold it. But typically, Lisa and I like to bottle condition wines for 6 to 8 months before we release them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you'll notice, like I brought you those 2 cabs that I was working on notes too. Those we barrel age our cab for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
It's a passion project for Lisa and I. So we do exactly what we want to do because we can.
That's a long time.
Yeah, and
Oh.
it helps
I'm
for
looking
Red
forward
Mountain.
to that,
For
yeah.
a Red Mountain cab, it just
Oh, yeah.
it makes them very fruit forward. And we just did our 2013 cab. So we were established in 2013.
Okay.
It's our 10-year anniversary this year.
Cool.
And
Congrats.
thank you. We did an
You made it over the hump.
5-year business
Yeah.
plan, revised it up to 8 years, and we've been winging it since then. Because of COVID, right? We didn't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what was going to happen.
What I
Yeah.
like though is when you were talking about the fact that you barrel aged them for 3 years, like you said, we do what we want because we can, and I like that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's a passion project, but you're really
Yeah.
keeping to what you believe and what you want to do, and not being forced by consumer consumption.
Yeah.
To put something
Yeah,
out.
we're very fortunate in that regard that we only owe money to ourselves, right?
I like it.
And that's it.
Sounds like good business to me.
You got way more flexibility that
Yeah,
way.
exactly. All right, so let's talk about the taste of this a little bit then. So Troy's had a few sips.
And it's still finishing in my mouth. It's a
I know,
long
me
finish on
too.
that.
It's,
That's nice.
So looking, when you kind of...
It's a little cold. Sorry about that. It's definitely cold.
I like it though.
Yeah,
I
when
like it cold.
Yeah, when it warms up a little bit, little more of the fruit characteristics will come out of it.
It's funny because I'm not usually very good at describing the wine, but the instant this hit my tongue, I could taste 2 things that were really prominent for me: cherry
This is great. Yes.
Yes, spot
Cherry.
on.
Yes.
Yeah.
and blackcurrant.
Oh,
Blackcurrant.
yeah.
Like there's a jam,
Little tart to it.
yeah, exactly. But like really burst on the tongue.
Yeah.
For, that kind of really exciting fruit flavor. I know you quite
Yeah.
often call it fruit forward, but
Yeah.
which I still don't understand. But
Well, fruit kind of hits you first, and then and then you get the dryness of the red wine after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tart cherry, blackcurrant, and it's very reminiscent for me of a jam that I used to eat when I
Oh.
was a kid. Blackcurrant jam. I don't know if you
Really?
guys get that.
Oh
here.
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to make
Yeah,
blackcurrant
and just
jam, red
just-
and black.
Yeah, just this kind of like nostalgia for me on that drink. I was like, oh,
Cool.
okay, so
Awesome.
I'm just gonna sit here and drink it, and you guys can talk. How's that?
Way to describe it, Pam.
Well, thank
I'm
you.
happy for you.
I've learned a few
Your
things on this
palate's
show.
getting more refined.
I know. Are you saying I wasn't very?
I wasn't saying the opposite. No.
No, but I get what you mean. Like this, what's been fun about this podcast is that journey for me on tasting wine and being able to articulate what I'm enjoying about wine and what not so much.
Yeah.
Like you and I've talked about this before. I don't necessarily like a really dry wine. This isn't super dry to me. I don't know if it's supposed to be, but
Chemically speaking, it is dry, right? But like for instance, we do a Sauv Blanc that is 13.4 alcohol. Comes from Stillwater Creek up on Royal Slope, and it has a perception of sweetness to it, and it's because we do a really long, slow, cold ferment, and it creates that very tropical tones,
Okay.
right? So we're a small winery. We're competing with there's a few other wineries here in town.
just a few.
Yeah.
We try
like
and
under exaggeration.
we try and do
like-
things that not everybody else does. For instance, aging our cab a little longer, making varietals that people don't necessarily know. But like with our Sauv Blanc, that tropical tones makes it a very fruity and refreshing kind of. It sells really well for us. It's our best-selling white, and it has a perception of sweetness to it, but it's not the alcohol is still dry. It's the wine's dry. You're tasting the alcohol that's in it, and not it just kind of it hits you in a different wave than the fruit flavors come through at another wave, and that's why. Yeah, so that's what's happening with the Mourvedra for you as well.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
So
good.
Troy, what are
It's
you
really good.
tasting? Same as me?
Same. Yeah, I tasted cherries right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of pepper on
Yep.
there too
Yeah.
at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get the pepper. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of a
That's your taste buds,
little
right?
bit of a
Yeah, exactly.
spice finish for sure. Yeah, and then what else was I gonna say? It really lingers. I like it a lot.
We always tell people, there are no wrong answers in what you're tasting in wine.
Yeah, no,
right?
and I'm beginning to realize that because everybody's palate is different. We've
Yeah.
talked about this a few times, and yeah, I'm not tasting any of the pepper at all, which,
Huh,
you know,
that's all right.
I know it's fine. It's just, I don't know, it's lovely.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting from this wine, but it has surpassed it.
Yeah, and my go-to, like, we do a few just to feed crew, and besides at home, I like to smoke things, smoke different meats and stuff like that. And Syrah used to be my go-to a lot of times for like a brisket or a pork or something like that, and it's Mourvedra. It has been Mourvedra now for probably the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I can see it bringing some flavors out in that food
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. When you put this with barbecue sauce, and it just seems to like just accentuate it, the fruit on it a lot.
It's super drinkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really
Well,
good.
and Lisa's a foodie, so she holds me accountable to make sure that I make things that are pair well with foods. The acidity is nice in them, that they'll lay down for a long time. But at the same time, we need to make sales, and we have to be able to make. We have to have drink now wines too. So and that's why the fruit hits you up front.
Yeah. And so are you tasting the same? I mean, obviously you made this wine, so you know what it's supposed to taste like. Do you taste the same things in it that we do?
Yes, yeah, I do. And it's not supposed to taste like anything. You know, we try and make each vintage to be representative of the conditions for that year. I don't want my wine to be a recipe and taste the same every year.
I like that.
I like it
Somebody
too.
gets a surprise.
They got to
every
keep
time.
coming back.
Yeah,
Mike.
well,
Yeah.
right?
Right?
They come back, but also it's a surprise every time you open a different bottle, you know, a different vintage or however you want to call it.
Yeah.
But this was delicious.
And
Thank
like
you.
I said, and for me, other than being a little bit cold, I would like it to sit in bottle for another, pick up a little bit more oxygen, a little bit more time.
Right.
And that fruit, if you tasted this, you know, I'll leave this here. You guys should taste it again in like 4 hours. It'll be much more emphasis on the fruit.
Right. So what we're
Okay.
saying then, this is actually it's a young wine because
Yes.
it's not,
Yes.
and so the flavor's just going to intensify.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, audience, you're in for a
And
great bottle of wine.
2 vineyards, a little bit of Red Mountain,
Okay.
Heart of Hill Vineyard, and then Lake Colleen's Vineyard out of Walla Walla. So that's why we call it Columbia Valley, just because of the split between the AVAs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
wow. Okay, all right, that's fabulous. Are we doing the Cab Franc next?
Yeah, I just poured the Cab Franc, and
Right.
it's dark.
I was going to say it's got a little bit more of that purpley hue
Yeah.
to it. It's rich colour. It smells fabulous too.
Yeah, it
What
smells
are you
good.
smelling?
Mm,
It's soft on the nose,
a
actually.
little soft, yeah.
You know,
I-
which sometimes you get that like that nose full.
Punch you in the
of-
face, alcohol.
Yeah.
It's,
and it's
this
not
is
that
not
at
it.
all. It's really
No.
soft, but the colour looks really deep. I'm just chatting while I'm waiting for them to take a drink.
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's like to me, it smells like a blackberry, a baking blackberry cobbler.
Huh.
It's got that little kind of baking smell of cooked berry and maybe a little plum.
Yeah, a little bit of that kind of sugar coming out in the pectin in fruit when you're making
Yeah.
a pie.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
description. I was having trouble with words there. I was like,
One of us
Just
has to
like-
be on our game today,
I know,
Troy.
I know. All right, nap time.
I'm a professional.
Yeah, the flavour it's very different from the one that we just tasted.
Yes.
It's,
The Mourvedra.
The Mourvedra, yeah.
Yeah.
This is softer in
Yeah.
its flavour intensity. I'm still trying to
So-
figure out what it is I'm tasting.
2020.
Mm-hmm.
This was bottled in February.
Okay.
So had a little more time to soften up in the bottle and get used to its new accommodations, right? Going from a larger tank or barrel into a bottle, and then single vineyard as well. So this is
Okay.
all out of this is all Lake Colleen's fruit.
I feel like I'm getting little bit notes of citrus and melon
A
in
little
it.
bit of citrus. I was going to say it's a little more acidic than most Cab Francs that I've
Yeah.
tasted, which I like it.
Yeah, I'm not used to a
And
Cab
what's
Franc.
what's missing, which is a common
Yeah.
thing about Cab Franc, is bell pepper.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Oh.
People will get that as, and sometimes that's a fault, and sometimes that's a good thing, right?
Bell
And
pepper.
yeah,
A lot of bell pepper, it's more of a earthy, kind of a vegetative taste.
Oh, okay, that's what
to,
you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
to the
Okay.
Cab Franc.
Yeah.
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 I think I was talking to my daughter about wine yesterday, and she was talking about some wines have this kind of, you can taste the vine as opposed to the fruit,
Oh.
which I thought was
Well,
an
to me,
interesting
that's-
way to talk about it. But
I say that as like green, right?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I taste, like I'll say, oh, it's very green, right? When I'm tasting a wine, and that could be either a recognition that the oak was over oaked a little
Okay.
bit, right? And you're a new oak, that is, right? You're tasting some of that oak
yeah.
flavor in it, or yes, it's very much tasting like you're chewing on a piece of like you stuck a twig in your mouth, right? Same kind of thing. Yeah.
It's like eating a licorice stick. Did you ever have those as kids over here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the actual licorice root that you chew
Oh.
on, but like a piece of stick?
Oh no.
No.
Oh, that
We
must
had
have been-
American vines.
Okay, no,
For
that-
years,
that
yeah.
must be a European thing then, but
Yeah.
that's a story for another day. So the melon and the citrus in this, that's intentional for this, or I'm always fascinated.
No, that's
by,
what you're getting.
What are you getting?
Let me try it again.
You got the same thing, Troy?
Little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's a different tasting Cab Franc. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
For me, it's just really soft, kind of plum to me, like a red plum.
Okay.
And and it is a little bit higher in acid. And that's what happens.
I can taste that.
That's what happens there in Walla Walla Valley.
Yeah.
And then it's lower, a little bit lower in alcohol too, so that
Right.
makes it softer on the finish. But yeah, for me, it's mostly a lot of plum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the kind of citrus for me was the end note of it. It wasn't at the beginning. It's like you trying to identify what that first flavor is when it gets in, and then when it dissipates over the tongue, that's when I was tasting that little bit of melon and then a little bit of citrus.
And
But-
do you know Olala berries? Do you know?
no?
So it's like a loganberry.
Oh, I've heard of a loganberry.
Okay. Yeah, it's like
I've
a
had
big.
loganberry
It's like a
jam.
really big blackberry.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And that's what a Olala berry is, kind of a native Oregon, kind of
Okay.
Washington berry.
And that's what you're getting in this.
I'm getting a little of that in here as well.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
It is.
I know. I learn something.
Different
every week.
varietals taste so different between different winemakers. That's why
Yeah, you
it's
give
so much
you
fun.
give
so
five
much fun.
winemakers the same grapes out of the same row of
Yeah.
vines, you're going to get 5 different wines, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
love it.
oak, the yeast, the fermentation method, all of
Right.
it.
Mad scientist stuff.
I know. I feel like I am on a science program some weeks
Yeah,
when
no,
I'm on here. But it is truly remarkable that you can take you can take one grape, down the road can take it, and come up with 2 completely different tasting
Yeah.
wines.
Yeah.
How long
amazing.
you leave them on the skins? Was that cold maceration? Is that what that's called?
Yeah. Yep. Macerating. For us, it's just a fermentation, a normal
Yeah.
fermentation.
Okay.
The only thing that we do an extended maceration on would be like Pinot.
Okay.
Or if we're trying to get a
Just
little.
to get more color? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Rosé. We make a Cinsault Rosé.
Okay. Cinsault's a great varietal.
I think we're the only one doing 100% Cinsault.
Yeah.
And we got 95 points for our Cinsault this year.
No way. That's great.
Yeah, and a lot of people will blend it with Grenache and things like that because Cinsault's hard to find. Nobody likes to grow it. It's a big, huge grape clusters. It pulls pulls the grapes off the wires. You can't machine pick it very easily, so it's a lot of handwork. Right?
Gotcha.
So a lot of people started doing more and more blends with it. But
It's pretty light too, isn't it?
I
It
was
is.
going to ask what's
As far
the
as
kind
color.
of.
But
like-
we do like a 12-hour maceration
okay.
on it to pick up the color, to make
Gotcha.
it a really nice pink color on it. But last year we did like a 24-hour and let it native go for the fermentation.
Really? That's fun.
We do different stuff every year just to see which way it's going to go. This year, since we kind of liked how this year's previous years came out, so we'll probably do the same thing this year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to go and watch people make wine now. I'm like,
Oh, it's
this
so much
is-
fun. It's
Well, you
fascinating.
could
Yeah.
you have a short walk
Yeah.
from here to go and
We
see it.
really
Yeah.
do. Yes.
They're pretty busy down just
Oh,
right
yeah,
in
yeah.
the junction below you. Yeah.
Wow. There's just so much to learn. I mean, you just can't take it all in, but I feel privileged that I get to try some great wines and talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, should we take a really quick break now?
Let's
that
take
we've
a quick
had
break, yeah.
a sip, and when we come back, we'll continue talking with Mike all about Three of Cups, and we'll continue to enjoy this delicious wine while we're at it.
All
so
right.
Awesome.
Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
All right. This podcast is brought to you by Woodinville Sauce Co. Hey, homeowners and aspiring buyers looking for a real estate team who are about you and your community? Look no further than Tend Home Team. We are here to help you navigate the sometimes overwhelming world of real estate. From buying to selling, we've got your back. Let's work together to find your dream home or sell your current one. Contact us today, tendhometeam.com. Welcome back to TLC, 10 Life Community Podcast. We are still here. I'm your guest, Troy Anderson. Or
You're the guest?
Too much wine for me already. I said we have a guest.
Do I need to cut you off? Do we need to say enough?
Oh, man. I cock it up today, right? Good thing this is live. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So we're here with Three of Cups winemaker Mike Metheny. And we just want to dive into all things Three of Cups.
We do. We're enjoying a couple of great bottles of wine that Mike very kindly brought in. And we've talked, before the break, we talked a little bit about some of the production of the wine, but I want to take it back just a little bit and kind of dig into. So for those people that don't know anything about Three of Cups, I mean, it'd be hard not to notice that your sign as you're driving into Woodinville. But, let's find out a little bit more about Three of Cups and how it started. So you said you got your start in 2013.
Yep.
It was a slightly unique story to the origins in that it's, hence the reason I'm asking this question, it's a woman-owned. Obviously, you are a part of that, and Lisa. But can you tell us a little bit more about what inspired the creation of the brand of Three of Cups?
So Lisa and I met at Microsoft a long time ago. We both used to work on the same product team. Mm-hmm. And I was bringing her wine out of my garage. Oh. I was making wine in the garage, and she said, "This tastes better than most of the stuff I buy. Why don't we start a winery together?" She'd always wanted to do something with her hands. And she'd had a couple other side gigs, right, where she had a mapping service that she did for a while that she ended up not making any money on. And she, since she was in the mood to have a business that didn't make any money, we were talking about, let's start a winery.
Okay.
So
interesting concept.
Well, they say what it takes to make a small fortune in wine making, right?
Yeah. Show me $5 million, and I'll show you how to make $1 million in the wine business.
Yeah. A large fortune.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I said no. I was like, no, it's a horrible business plan. You don't understand. And I had been volunteering and working at several wineries here in town, and probably worked for Chris Gorman the longest. But I've supported. I did a wine label called The Ghost of 413 with Mark Ryan and Chris Gorman. I did. I've helped out with Patterson, with Guardian, with Bear, with a lot of Edmonds,
quite
who
the
are
story behind you.
been and gone. Mm-hmm. I've been making wine since probably '98.
Oh wow!
Right, somewhere around there. When we found out my wife was gluten-free, gluten intolerant, I used to drag her up and down the West Coast to beer festivals, and she always drank wine. And then she took me to the first wine festival, which was out in the Herb Farm, out in Falls City, Carnation.
I went to that one a long time ago.
Yeah. They used to have it multiple years out there. And then all 12 Woodinville winemakers were there, right? Right.
Sorry, there was a time when there was only 12?
Yeah.
I remember talking to Paul Galitzin out there.
Yeah. I mean, heck, Bob Betts was standing there at a booth talking to people, And so I got fascinated talking to those. What do you mean it takes more than 2 weeks, right, to make wine? I had no idea. I just didn't drink wine. And so I wanted access to better equipment. I wanted access to better fruit. Started volunteering with local places, and was making wine for my wife. And anyway, Lisa and I said, no, we don't want to do that, and let's hold off. And then I took a year off of wine. My mom had some health issues she lives up in Bellingham, and as I came back, Lisa hired me for a gig, actually a contractor role back at Microsoft, and she asked me again. And
she sounds like a persistent woman.
She was. We've been friends for over 20 years.
Okay.
And I said yes. And she kind of, wait, what?
You fooled her with that one. She thought she was going to get another no.
Yeah, I think it was the brandy. I had made a bad batch of Pinot out of the gorge.
Oh.
And I just wasn't happy with it and always wanted to make a still. And
Okay.
so we made some brandy, and that's what I gave it to her as her birthday present.
Made
that's
some
what we
brandy
were
out of bad wine.
Yeah, that's the great thing about
Yeah.
wine. If you mess it up, you can still make brandy
spirits
out of it. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well,
All brandy is cognac, right? It's
Mhm.
all made from Sauv Blanc.
Oh, I mean, I guess I figured that out from another
Gooseridge.
winery that they
Yeah.
made spirits out of grape, but I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was actually a thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And a lot of port is re-fortified, right, with grape spirits, right?
Okay.
But that's what Spain and
Mhm.
France and a lot of other places do with a lot of their overproduction. Is it goes
I
into
guess that's
the
probably how they make the sherry
spirits.
as well, right? That stuff's strong.
different process, but yes,
Mhm.
that's similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so anyway, Lisa and I decided to start it. Then the logo is a circle of the wine stain. That's same as happening on your table there.
I know.
And then us
Sorry.
doodling around it,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of representing ourselves and our friends and family.
Okay.
And then a friend suggested we were looking for names with 3 in it.
Right.
To represent the logo. It started with the logo. And a friend suggested the tarot card, 3 of Cups. It means coming together, friends and family, conviviality. We liked what it meant, and more importantly, the .com was available on GoDaddy.
Okay. There's always a real life story behind that kind of stuff.
Check
too.
the box
Yeah.
on business plan.
There you go.
Yeah.
We just had to find a place to smash fruit, and Chris didn't have any room for me. He'd already expanded production in 2013. After I left him in 2011, after harvest in 2011, and then Darby took us in over here, just on the other side of the warehouse, in his space, and made room for us, and said, you could probably only be here about a year. We're gonna have to. I will run out of room for you, and we were very fortunate, and we found our winery space over here in what's called Artisan Hill about a year later in April of 2014. And we did some remodeling over there and moved in, and we've been there ever since. And then we just opened the tasting room down by the
Right by the
Hampton Inn
Hampton,
Hotel.
yeah.
We opened it in March of last year. So we've been down there almost, just over a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So you're known for producing limited quantity premium Washington State wines. What's the philosophy behind that?
Well, so when I worked at Hogue after I got out of WSU.
Okay.
As a vet student. Went to work for Hogue under Constellations label. They had just bought that from the Hogue brothers.
Okay.
And I walked 26 different vineyards on a weekly basis.
Wow.
And I got to know different wines a little bit, but I also got to know the fruit, got to know the growers, got to GPS out my favorite rows. And then when it came time for Lisa and I to decide to start a winery, we talked about what we wanted to make, what we like to drink. We both like Rhones. So the Grenaches, the Mourvedras, we both drink a lot of Pinot, just not so great out of Washington. All right? The Gorge is coming on. It is getting better every year down there. It really is. And there's some great vineyards down there. And there's some sparkling Pinot right here in Woodinville that is fabulous. Ellentone makes a really good sparkling.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Oh yeah. And
I know.
but we're we can't always drink what you make, or make what you drink. Sorry. And so we also drink a lot of champagne, right? So
Bougie.
yeah, yeah.
Champagne's pretty particular.
Yeah. And so we wanted to make a GSM, and then when you make a GSM, you're kind of stuck with also having some Syrah, you're also with some Grenache, some Mourvedra, and as in today we're having Mourvedra, even though it took it a while to get into the main lineup. We usually experiment with, like the Cab Franc, this is a club wine, so we experiment with our club. If it's successful, then maybe we bring it into the lineup at some point. But that's how, we're really well known for our Petit Syrah,
Okay, I love Petite Sirah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd known. So next time.
Nice and
But,
dark and
We'll
tight.
just get Troy to send a menu item before he lands.
You can come on the show if.
Yeah. So we're probably best known for Petite
Are you?
Sirah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I gotta come down and try
Always
it now.
Red Mountain,
Yeah.
Heart of Hill Vineyard.
Okay.
We've made it since the very first. It was first harvested off the hill.
Okay.
So we've been making it ever since. And Scott Williams sold it to me. I was like, hey, back to the different varietals, why we do them. Our first year, we wanted to do something different than everybody else.
Yeah.
We wanted to make a Bordeaux blend, and we wanted to do it different. And Scott suggested Petite Sirah as a blender. And we really liked the flavor of it, and we're tasting it. And then I've had, Stag's Leap and
I was gonna say
Glencairn
Napa Valley
and-
Petite Sirahs.
Yeah.
Mm.
Great Petite Sirahs.
Yeah.
And so we just were like freaking out over how good it tasted on
Yeah.
its own and how it tasted through the fermentation. So we still made a Bordeaux blend of it.
Okay.
And our 2013 Chariot, it's called Chariot, and I brought you guys a couple samples of the Chariot. The 2013 Chariot and the 2013, we also made a cab just because we felt we're
Right.
obligated to, right?
Sure,
We're in
right.
Washington, and we're getting
Cab's
fruit
off.
off Red Mountain, yeah. And the 13 Cab and the 13 Chariot just took 93 points at the Seattle Wine Awards for 10-year-old wines.
Wow.
So
Nice.
pretty. They're holding up really nicely,
Good,
and that's
good.
that's the thing we like about Petite Sirahs, right? That higher
Oh, yeah,
acid that's in it. So it's a steak wine.
Yeah.
The Seattle Times did a really nice little write up on us a couple years ago and said it
Okay.
was their go-to for prime rib.
Nice.
Yeah. So I always suggest Petite Sirah anytime somebody brings up steak, but it's hard to sell in wholesale. Right,
Yeah.
we used to get Gaucho would buy a case from us once in a while, or Capital
the-
Grill would buy a case from us once in a while. But
Why is that?
I don't know. I think price point is one, and people don't know it.
It
right?
exists on the wine list someplace else than Cab or
Yeah. People
Because
know.
Or a
because
Bordeaux
it's not a
blend.
norm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But
Peop-
you really enjoy it, Troy, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Surprising.
yeah.
I
It
was
sells
first
really well out of our tasting room.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
I was first introduced to it in Napa Valley.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know too many producers here in Washington that actually made it.
It likes a really hot climate. And
Okay.
when we first started making it, I think we were only one of maybe 4 wineries making Petite Sirah in the state.
Okay.
About 3 years after we got a little notoriety for it, Sparkman, everybody was
everyone's
making
making it
some,
now.
right? We were like, oh, great.
But we have to remember, then you were the OG, right? You were the
We were, and that's kind of our claim to fame with Petite Sirah. But it was an accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was just one of the things. But our focus is mostly on the Rhones and whites. We have a pretty extensive white program for
Okay.
Lake Chelan Chardonnay,
Wow.
Royal Slope Sauv Blanc, and then the white wine blend that I brought you.
You're talking my language.
And
Mike.
then
You're
once in a
talking my
while, a
language.
Riesling. Our very first white was a Riesling
Oh, okay.
out of Brewster, of all places, up north of Chelan.
Dry Riesling or
Dry Riesling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I wouldn't say I grew up on that, but kind of.
From Germany.
I don't want people to think I was drinking at a young age, but yeah, that's kind of what would be.
No,
on the
I
dinner
love
table.
Riesling. I drink a lot of Riesling.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you have a really diverse menu of wines for people to
We do,
think
yeah.
about. So, you mentioned earlier on kind of, Three of Cups was founded on the idea of abundance and joy and friendship and all of those great things. How does that influence the atmosphere at the tasting room? And, also how does that impact the wines that you create?
Well, when it first started at the winery, I gave Lisa the option, do you want to buy bulk juice so we have something to sell right away?
Mm-hmm.
And we were our only investors, right? So
Right.
we bit the bullet, and she didn't want to do that. She wanted to do everything our own from
Mm-hmm.
scratch. And so we didn't sell anything for our first 2 years, right? So that's
That was
why it's a
brave.
horrible business plan, right? And
No
Let's
cash
just say,
flow for
let's
2
just
years.
say it was very brave,
Right.
not horrible.
we joked we started a business to write checks, right? So
Don't tell your bank manager.
yeah. And so in that first year, we decided to make a white to go with it and things like that. And we would taste our tasting room. If you come into the winery and you see our tasting room, you would laugh because it's probably it's smaller than this. It's half the space we're sitting in right now.
Okay.
It's very small. It
It's
had
intimate.
It is. Had seating for 4. You're hanging out with both of us, right?
Wow.
Okay.
That's where kind of that friends and family atmosphere and conviviality, right? So it's just you're hanging out with us, and then as time went by, we expanded into over the floor drain outside. Just as you walk out of our small tasting room in the winery, you're instantly in production space, and it's about a 3,600 square foot production space, and we've got about 1,100 foot barrel room. Right, so we have this massive production space, but the floor drain, it was cheapest to put the floor drain right by the roll-up door, and then FRP, put the around the walls, and then that became the washdown area for all the equipment. On the weekends, though, we throw up high boys and stools out there, and you sit over the floor drain. So it became people would have fun dumping their wine down the floor drain.
Sounds like a whole experience.
Yeah. And so. And people like being able to see the winemaker or see the ownership of the business and just kind of talk to us and be able to be walked around and the equipment explained. People love looking and people really like going into the barrel room, right? That's like the Instagram photo moment, right? Yeah. That's where a lot of photos are taken and stuff like that. And just to surprise people that there is a barrel room, because you can't even see it when you're standing and looking down our space. You don't know that there's this room to the right. And so that's part of it. And then the expansion down to the tasting room by the hotel was just kind of a natural progression for us because we started producing more and more fruit every year. Our first year was 375, maybe 400 cases. Okay. We're up to about 2,700 cases right now, maybe 3,000. We will not go more than 4,000 because that's hard for just the two of us to maintain, right? Lisa still has a day job. I retired in 2020. Lisa still works at Oracle. Okay. So she's staying busy, and she loves her job. Right, so that's she doesn't want to give that up.
This is her passion project.
Yeah, right.
She's sticking with the O's there. She's working for Oracle, and
she's working 7 days a week right now. I used to work 7 days a week, right? So not quite as much, but it's when you own, as you guys know, when you own your own business.
Yeah, you work 9 days a week.
Yeah, exactly. You're always on call.
You're always on call. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always something going on. So anyway, when we took it down there. We took over Tertullia's old spot. Yeah. Yeah, and we did a quick remodel on it, made it a little bit more friendly, and tried to bring as much of that down there as we could. All of the artwork in our winery and now in the tasting room was painted by club members.
Oh, that's fun.
We do have some art on the wall that's for sale that gets rotated in and out by local artists. But one of the local artists is my neighbor. The other local artist is she's up in Everett, and the other one we used to have some wood pattern stuff that was for sale, and that's Diane. She was also a club member, but she's over in West Seattle, so she has her own shop now. So she took it all back.
So we need to find you another local artist then.
Are you involved with the Woodinville Arts Alliance?
We aren't. We've had people ask us about it, and we haven't done anything with them. But so we tried to bring the same atmosphere from the winery down to the tasting room. So the bar is made from wood 3 of cups barrels, right? And I did all the remodeling down there myself. So it's kind of like. We have a guitar hanging on the wall that was donated by a club member that people can just come in, pick up, and sing and play, and it happens all the time. It's hilarious how often people will do that. There's the woman who works at a festi, her boyfriend loves coming into our winery to kill time, waiting for her to pick up the guitar and play it. And then
that's fun.
And then
it's like open mic night anytime you want it.
Yeah, so it's a lot of stuff very similar to we try like the mirror ball that's in the winery was donated by club members, right? So we have live bands every time we do a release party and stuff like that, and we love playing. We've had Massey Fergan is probably the most well-known local band that we've had in there, but we love having bands and stuff in there too. And the fact that our club members are going out and buying things like mirror balls for us, and it's great. I have to install them, right? Because now I'm obligated.
But you're letting people know that you're good at that, so that's your fault, Mike.
Yeah. So, but it's fun, and that's kind of the atmosphere we try and bring. There's if people want to change what their club allocation is, we don't care. If people want to, we just make it very easy to be a member of 3 Cups.
Right.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that you've definitely created a really nice community feel within your tasting room and the winery. And, you know, just while we're talking and kind of thinking about the wine, because, you know, part of that question was, you know, how do you transfer that feeling of friendship and abundance and everything into your wine? I think it's pretty evident when you open a bottle of it. It feels like a sociable thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Absolutely.
I mentioned earlier, it's very drinkable, but I think it's also one of those wines where you could just sit and have a natter with anybody over a bottle of wine and just feel like
it's wine is a memory, right? You always it's a place and time that you tend to remember and what you were drinking at that time.
Yeah.
For sure. So we touched on this a little bit, but can you walk us through like the winemaking process for 3 Cups, where, you know, what starts in the vineyard, right?
It does. So
And of course, Troy's not asking you for the secret sauce recipe.
No,
but, you know,
no.
just
No.
an
I
idea.
I won't give away all the company jewels.
Yeah.
I mean, you can if you want to, but it's probably not a good idea.
No,
So-
you don't have to go super specific, but yeah.
You know, you have to order your barrels in April, and now it's actually February, just because of since COVID times have changed. So you're already making your plans in February what you're going to produce for that year.
Oh, wow.
Right? That's how early the whole process starts. And so you got to get barrels on order, and then it's figuring out what you're going to bottle, right, to make space into the winery, and what you're going to make for your club, what you're going to do for your regular lineups, what's going to go into distribution, what's not. And then come about April, bud break, typically, right? And then we start doing vineyard visits probably around June.
Okay.
I usually give it a little time. I go out for bud break once in a while. It just depends how busy I am. And we'll get out there, and we're looking at vineyards, walking our rows, talking to the growers. What kind of frost damage did they have? What should we think about as far as our how much volume we're going to get out of our normal. Some places we do 3-year contracts. Some places are 1-year contract. Things like that, depending. We work with 11 different growers.
Wow.
Like I said, from as far north as Brewster down to the rocks of Oregon. We tend to focus on where we think the varietal grows best, and if we can get into a well-known vineyard in that area, great. If we can't, we try and go across the street. You know, so
Right.
that it's same sunshine, same viticulture practices, just maybe not as good at marketing. And then then we start working from there to figure out what we're going to do as far as the harvest. But as far as the varietals that we have now, we pretty much know over the years that I've been in the business, and over the time that Lisa and my wife, Deb, they're my main taste testers, and the 3 of us do all the blending of
Sounds
the
like
wines.
a really hard job, Mike.
Yeah. So
I think Troy might want to be a taste tester too.
Yeah.
He'll put his hand up.
So we're back on the bottling process. We're picking like our favorite barrels, and that's what goes into our single varietals. Our single varietals are always 100%. We never fudge it with a little bit of Petit Verdot or a little bit of Merlot or anything like
To
that.
soften
It's always,
it up or anything?
Yeah, it's always 100%. We want to show people what that varietal tastes like, and then we're deciding what we're going to grow that year. And Cinsault was kind of off and on. Again, we've made a Pinot Rosé, we've made Grenache Rosé, but Cinsault is kind of stuck for us the longest. And so we're making those plans, asking those growers if those grapes are going to be available, what's been happening to them out there in the vineyards, and then starting from there and just kind of figuring out what can we afford, to purchase,
Right.
And then about a month of July, I usually buy what yeasts I'm going to use and things like that, because I want to have all that there and available, because you never know how harvest is going to go. And this was 2023 was a really good year as an example. Harvest started in August.
That's really.
It was
I
early.
haven't seen that in all the time I've been at it, right? And it was funny. I walked last year at this same. Last year we were probably 3 weeks into September before harvest started, so almost a month difference this year. And I remember walking onto the crush pad up at Kiona looking for Scott, going, hey, nobody was around, this is last year. And there's no forklifts, there's nothing, nobody in there. Scott was inside his own press working on it. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh, welcome to 1984, right? This is how it was,
really?
Back then, when we'd see earlier harvests and stuff like that. So I'm like way before my time. But that's when we start, is around that time, and going out there, making more decisions. And then once that happens, it's go get your fruit, right? It's constantly sharing information with other people that we share the blocks with. Because we're on the west side, all the fruit's on the east side. I can't drive over there every day to check on rows, check on vines. So people that we know that we share the fruit, like our Sauv Blanc, right?
Yeah.
That all goes to Novelty Hill Janik,
Okay.
right? If it doesn't go to us, that's who the other customer is. So I'm trading texts with Andrew, asking him, what are you getting? When are you posting data? Because they're posting the numbers up on a shared website.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so we can see what everyone's getting, and it kind of, but that's not you can't go by numbers. And this was a really good year as an example. You have to get out there and still taste it, because a lot of the picking decisions are based on taste. So I do about a little over 11,000 miles in 6 to 8 week period.
Burning up the road.
Yeah. So I'm not a good role model for low impact winemaking when it comes to that, right? But I'm there when the people are picking my fruit. I'm getting to know the people who pick our fruit. I'm chatting with them. I'm laughing with them. My Spanish is improving. It's
that's usually
it's
done
fun.
like in the wee hours of the morning, isn't it?
It is anywhere from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. A lot of times.
Before the sun comes up.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to get out there. And when I worked for Hogue, our day ended at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So that was it. It was just too hot.
A good deal, but probably not, because you probably started at 2 a.m.
We were well into breakfast at 6. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just kind of how it is. And like I said, we're very fortunate, and we're able to do that kind of stuff. A lot of people have to rely on trucking companies and things like that to deliver the grapes, but also they're also I'm bringing in 4 to 5 tons lots, right? They're bringing in 11 to 20. Avinia shares the building with us, right?
Okay.
Those guys are doing over 150 tons of fruit, right?
Wow.
So I'm seeing a semi truck pull up every 3 or 4 days, right, full of pick bins, where I roll up with my little trailer. I have a big flatbed that I tow with my truck. And
but you're doing bespoke wine.
Yeah.
Bespoke.
So,
I like that.
but we can say, that our fruit is crushed and fermenting within 24 hours of it being picked. Right. So, and that's a luxury. Like when Patterson bought Tertulia and he moved over to Walla Walla, I told him I was so jealous that all his fruit is going to be within an hour of his winery now.
Wow.
And that makes a huge difference on you not injuring yourself, during harvest, right? Because you're not sleep deprived or anything like that.
It's a demanding thing. It's that the wine doesn't wait.
No, it doesn't. And Mother Nature, when I was in Vit school, there was a lot of guys in my class that lived on the west side here and wanted to own a winery over there, and they quickly learned you can't do it, right? You can't say, I'll wait and spray that vineyard on this weekend. You can't do it, because by the time you get over there on the weekend, then the wind's blowing so hard you can't do what you had planned on doing. So Mother Nature, she dictates exactly what our schedule is.
It's a little reactionary, not in a negative way, but you just have to be on it and ready for whatever Mother Nature is going to throw at you in order to maintain the integrity of the winemaking process.
But all our whites are whole cluster pressed. Our reds we crush stem. Sometimes we crack them. Sometimes we leave the berries whole, depending on what the varietal is and what we want to do with it, or how long we want the fermentation to go. And everything settles into tank, and then it gets put into barrel for the reds. The whites finish their whole life in tank. Other than Chardonnay, we do a little barrel aging on our Chardonnay, just for mouthfeel.
Just a little bit of oak.
Yeah, 70. It's only 28% oak usually on our Chardonnay, and then into the barrel it goes, and that's where it sits in the barrel room and doesn't move until we bottle. And we continue to top our barrels in the barrel room.
Yeah. And You probably rack it too, right?
I do not rack.
You do not rack?
No, I'm old school, and that's why I settled.
Old school, wow.
I don't
That's
want to.
cool.
I don't want to give away. Like I said, everyone's got different winemaking methods,
That's
right?
okay. You don't have to give anything away.
No,
I'm
but
just prying.
no,
You
but
can talk to Troy off air about that one.
Yeah.
I prefer my wines settled in tank, and then
Okay.
I rack them off the tank into barrel, so it's cleaner wine going into barrel.
Okay.
But you still have
Lots of sediment, probably.
you still have some, not a lot, but you
Okay.
still have some going into that barrel too. And I will often press my wines before it's completely dry and let it finish in tank as
Okay.
well, just to ensure I'm not dealing with any microbial
Right,
issues and
right.
things like that.
That's cool.
I like
that.
I like a controlled environment. And again, like I said, I'm not under any timeline. I'm not under any constraint. You know, like last year, it was such a condensed vintage. Everyone had to. People were freaking out because I had to bring in. People would have to bring in wines, get them fermented, get them out of tanks so that they can make room for
For the
more
next
wine
one, yeah.
coming in. Lisa and I are very fortunate in that we're both project managers by training too as well, right? We've done those kind of roles in business for years, and so we're pretty good at saying, here's the cycle that things are going to flow through the winery as best as we can, and we have 10 years worth of records for picking our fruit, and we know pretty much what day it's going to happen on and things like that, the year before. So, but like I said, this year 3 weeks earlier than last year, right? So you can't always go by that.
So we can just call Mike the Oracle.
Yeah, Mike is the oracle. Yeah.
He's the Oracle.
Heck with Larry.
Who's Larry?
Ellison.
Ellison.
That was his reference. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I got it. Yeah. Good.
Well, I'm glad you did because I'm lost.
Right over your head.
He's never invited Lisa to the island, though. So
Really?
As far as I know,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, heck with him. He owns Lahaina.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's golfed there, though. I believe
Okay.
she's been there to golf. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, let's get back to like food and
Oh.
wine. Are there any memorable experiences you've had? Because you said your wine is made to pair with food.
And Lisa's a foodie.
Lisa's a foodie. Is there any like really memorable times you guys paired some stuff up?
No, some of our probably one of the most fun. We went up to Lakedale Resort up on San Juan Island,
Okay.
Friday Harbor, right area. There's a little resort area up there, and the guy from Friday Harbor House was the chef, and we did like a benefit dinner out there. And
Okay.
he made
Sounds memorable.
And it's a glamping. You can glamp there, right?
Okay.
So they have
Yeah.
the tents with the queen size beds in them, right?
Yeah, it's not
or you
like
could do a
camping.
yurt, right?
Mike-
It's
my
my
kinda
kind of camping.
Yeah,
Mine too.
yeah. I mean, they come and they put a warm water bottle into the bed and warm
Oh,
it
really?
up for
Oh,
you.
boy.
Yeah, it's a beautiful resort.
Sounds terrible.
And so, but you can camp there as well too. They
Okay.
have campsites and
No,
then
thanks.
glam sites, and
I'll take the
or you can stay in the
glamping.
hotel. Yeah.
I'll take the glamping, hotel or glamping, but not an actual tent.
But I watched this guy cook over little, small fire pit grills. They did a Wagyu beef and then had made his own s'mores, made his own marshmallows and everything.
No way.
Yeah, and
That's cool.
that's when I'm against chocolate and wine, right? To me, the tannins in the two don't go together. Port and chocolate, I think, are a great pairing, right? But like
Interesting.
chocolate itself, I'm not a big fan of, even though chocolate is in my tasting notes all the time. I taste milk chocolate in wines a lot. But he made s'mores, homemade s'mores. So like a giant chocolate brownie and a big chunk of marshmallow and poured sauce all over it. And we drank Petite Sirah with that.
Oh.
It paired so
Did it?
beautifully
Oh,
with it.
man.
Yeah, it was
My mouth
crazy.
is watering.
I'm just thinking, I'm supposed to be making a big Sunday roast for my family and I'm like, okay, which wine am I going to have with it?
So that was one of the more memorable wine events that we have. But
Cool.
Lisa and I, we have we have 3 tiers of membership in our wine club, and we had one called the King Club. And the King Club, it's just a case of wine twice a year, right? It's not nothing major, but we always put on a dinner for everybody. And we had a friend who was a local chef. He owned Osprey Bistro in South Park, and also did a catering called Upper Left Catering Company. And unfortunately, Shane passed away earlier this year,
Oh, no.
and we decided not to continue with our wine dinner, but we used to host everyone in our winery. And that was probably our most fun thing that we did from a dinner standpoint, in that it started with, when you count it as couples, maybe 10 people in our king club.
Right.
And we go from a table of 20, and by the time we finished it in we were able to come back together as a group in 2022, right? We probably had 80, 90 people on one long table. And it was interesting for Lisa and I to see, wow, serving 90 people warm food all at the same time.
Oh yeah, that's a
right?
challenge. That's a challenge.
But that's probably some of the most memorable, because everything that we did, every course was paired with our wine, and we're right there, and we're able to influence it, and we're able to talk with the chef ahead of time. And Lisa and I have done some wonderful dinners and winemaker dinners at other places in town, in Seattle and up north and down south, and we've had a fantastic time. But it's never been that kind of an experience that we got when we were able to do it right in the winery too.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's gone away. So what we did for our King Club this year is we gave everyone who is a member of our club, we gave them a magnum of Carmenere from Red Mountain.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
I know.
Carmenere
I'm
is
just thinking
very-
for everybody
Three-year-
that's-
a
everyone
three-year
that's
age
listening,
Carmenere.
I think you
Oh, my
need
gosh.
to head on down to Three of Cups and sign
Yeah.
up for the King.
Sign
King
up for the
package.
club.
Yeah, King Club package.
Yeah, it was fun. So, and those are referenced to tarot cards. And I should have said that the wine is all referenced to tarot cards too.
Oh.
The third cup, right, representing Three of Cups, right? But Battle, the Fool, the loose interpretation for us. We're making fun of somebody we used to work with up on Red Mountain.
I'm sure you want to say that on air, Mike.
No, it's
Do they know?
They might know. And then, so the chariot means the it is a chariot, the catch-all, the judgment, the GSM. Our very first wine, every wine has a story behind it. Lavaux, the Sauv Blanc, means the wish. We wished it tasted better the first year we made it.
That's funny.
You
But
need
the-
one that's called the storyteller, because
Yeah,
he's
he's
quite
a
the
good
storyteller.
storyteller.
Yeah, but like the one of our favorites though is and this is new, the horse, right, the Cavalier, and we just decided Mourvedra is like the workhorse of the industry, but I think it translates literally to the rider. So
Okay.
we're a little loose interpretation. We just don't want to get in trouble with any other French names
Yeah.
and things like that.
Cease
so.
and desist aren't fun.
Yeah. No, but our GSM, it was originally called Justice,
Okay.
right? Because we were representing the scales, right? And that's also a tarot reference as well. And we submitted it, and it was our first wine, and we got a 91-point Wine Spectator score. So we were pretty happy first year out the gate getting nice Wine Spectator scores. And a cease and desist came quickly after that
Oh, no.
from a large California winery that will remain nameless, and said we own the rights to the name Justice. So we changed it to be the Judgment, and we called it the Judgment Against Us. We Frenchified all our names from that point on, so we couldn't get in trouble with our names anymore. And
Frenchified, I like
yeah,
I like it, yeah.
yeah, and it was kind of inspired by, there used to be a bar up in Vancouver, and that I used to really like, called De Niro's. And they got sued by Robert De Niro. You can own your name in Canada, and they changed the name of the bar to Title 17, which was the statute that he sued them under.
Oh my God!
Right, so that was kind
Seriously?
of that was a little bit of our
Really?
inspiration
Yeah.
to change it as the Judgment. So
I like it.
that's kind of how the names came about.
I
But
love it when there's a story behind the
Yeah.
bottle.
every bottle has a story behind it.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
That's great. I love that.
The Hermit was named for my mom because we could never get her out of Bellingham. Right, so she won't leave.
That's funny. What's that one?
The Grenache,
Grenache, okay.
Oregon Grenache, 100% Grenache out of the
Okay.
rocks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The Hermit. I
The
like
Hermit.
it. Okay.
All right. Well, I think we're running out of time here. So let's. We are a community-based real estate company, and we like to hear our guests if they have any experience in and around Woodinville, that their favorite places to go or things to do, or
Any hidden gems?
Hidden gems for our listeners.
Cottage Lake Park is
Okay.
a great little lakeside park with some side trails to hang out and sneak your dog into. You know, I live in Cottage Lake area.
Okay.
So I've lived in Woodinville since '93. So
All right,
it was
wow.
horse pastures when I moved
Yeah.
in. Right. So I've
Lots
seen
of
a lot,
changes.
A lot of changes. I threatened to try and run for the planning commission a few times. And my wife said absolutely not. So
I think she maybe thought you had enough on your plate. to be a
yeah,
winery.
she did. I was working full time then too, so I don't know. I love. I don't know. There's Woodinville. I think from a wine tasting perspective, there's definitely a ton of different places to go to. I'm very partial to Artisan Hill. It's one of the older areas. You know, I like what's going on out at Maltby. If you don't mind getting past the traffic to get out there some days during the week. But
they usually have a food truck or something.
Yeah. Chris has always got a food truck out there. I think so. There's always something to do out there. But locally, I like Harvest. You know. Sorry. I don't know why I said Harvest. Heritage.
Heritage,
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Brie. I knew what you meant. That's strange.
Mm-hmm.
Her little bakery is
tart.
added some pounds to my life.
Yeah. Those croissants.
Oh, croissant. Can you say that again?
Croissant.
Yeah.
Croissant.
Yeah. So I mean, there are some little, you know, and that hotel, the Hampton Inn next to us, is a great little hotel. We meet so many people coming into town, and so many businesses will send their people there. I've met, we've gotten club members who have signed up, like the Titleist rep, you know, who comes and does golf club fittings.
Okay.
The bicyclist, you know, for Specialized for all the e-bikes, he stays there when he's in town. You know, we've met so many people that come rolling through there from different places, and especially during the shows at Chateau Saint Michel, it's like one of the closer places for people to stay at.
Yeah, we definitely don't have a hotel scene here.
Yeah, we need more.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to.
That's good.
But I'm also not looking forward to the 3,000 plus new residences
new cars
being built.
and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the infrastructure will be in place for all of that too.
Hopefully, yeah.
So, well, I have to say this has been a fascinating conversation, all about Three of Cups and wines. We're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to ask Troy his real estate roundup question for the week. Are you
I'm
ready?
on the spot?
You're on the spot.
Oh.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this very short break.
Hello, sauciers. My name is Chef Dave, creator and owner behind Woodinville Sauce Company. Inspired by the flavors and culture of the Pacific Northwest, I poured my heart in creating sauces that will make your meals unforgettable. From marinating to grilling or simply dipping, like the berry hickory blackberry grill sauce to the sweet and spicy Asian Q, experience a symphony of flavors with Woodinville Sauce Co. Available at stores near you, including all 16 PCC community markets. Unleash your inner chef with WSC, where passion meets taste.
Welcome back to TLC, Tend Life Community Podcast. I'm your co-host Pamela. We have just had a fascinating conversation with Mike from Three of Cups. He's the winemaker over there. But now we are going to channel our thoughts over to Troy and the question of the week for a real estate roundup. Are you ready?
My palms are getting sweaty.
They're getting sweaty?
No,
Okay.
I'm
Should I
ready,
be
of
playing
course,
that Eminem
yes.
song in the
I know,
background?
right.
All right. So I'm going to kind of start this off with this idea that I feel it's fair to say that people have maybe a preconceived idea about what it takes to be a real estate professional. And I also think I'm right in saying that when people get their real estate license, there's a considerable amount of people that are in it for about a year and then realize it's not for them and kind of hang up the towel. And then another kind of contingent of people end of the second year be like, yeah, okay, they're done with it and it's not really for them. I don't know what the actual figures of that are, but when I've spoken to other people in the industry, that kind of seems to be something that kind of resonates. So my question then is, why do you think this is, and what makes for a really good real estate professional, and how do agents survive the market that we're in today? Because it's a little different.
Yeah, today we're about 50% off in sales volume, so the number of houses available for sale and are selling is down about 50%. So that means that there's not less realtors, or there is a little bit less realtors now than there was 6 or 9 months ago. But yeah, definitely shortage of inventory, less buyers out in the marketplace just because of the higher interest rate environment we're in right now currently. So what, I've been doing this for 24 years, and I've definitely seen market cycles. Every market's a little different, and I haven't really seen a market like this, but it's behaving a little bit like a buyer's and seller's market all at the same time.
You talked about that the other day, that on paper it looks like it's a seller's market, but it's behaving a little bit more like a buyer's market.
If you look at inventory levels, you're like, whoa, there's really a shortage of inventory, and based on the number of houses that are selling and going in contract. And then, but when you look at it, on a price sales price versus list price. You can have some houses that sell for at or over list price because maybe they were priced a little bit under before. But their houses are sitting on the market longer now, and they're taking more negotiations. You know, sellers are definitely negotiating more to get their house sold. So we've seen the median home price kind of plateau pretty much. We haven't seen it drop or fall off a cliff. I know people are waiting for that, but what it takes to be in the market today, it's a skills-based business. It's not just, you know, the days are over of, you know, you take the call and go open the door and sell a house. You have to actually, I mean, I just picked up some clients that were working with a Seattle broker, a great broker for Seattle, but they don't know Woodinville.
Right.
So I just picked up some people that they really wanted a local Woodinville agent, and so I took them around and talked about this and that and the other thing that's going on in the community, and showed them some off-market stuff even that people I had met with in the past that might sell if they got the right offer in the future.
So when you say skills-based, you're talking about the things that are kind of not necessarily evident at first look, right? So you're talking about people that, you know, agents or professionals that can find those off-market properties that are more skilled at kind of negotiating, but also being more creative in the way that you get people into houses and the way you sell houses.
Yeah, over the ramp up, there's a lot of part-time agents that got in the business that have full-time jobs, and you know they have to show homes outside of that, and they just can't be a professional. And it takes, you got to put in the work in real estate. It's a job. It's not just
Not a side hustle.
not a side hustle. No, you don't serve your clients that way. It's a full-time gig, if not more.
And do you think the exodus from the real estate industry, from, you know, agents that are, you know, been in for a year or 2 years and then disappearing, is that, do you think, because they didn't underestimated what was actually involved in, you know, in helping people find the right home or selling the right home, or do you think some of that is market shift?
A little bit market shift, and a little bit of, I didn't know what I didn't know when I got into this business. I was there 24 years ago. I was like, oh yeah, I'm really great at real estate, but it had nothing to do with real estate. It has everything to do with lead generation. So
So there you have it. It's all about the skills that you have in your back pocket.
what was I going to say? And so agents that are, this might be a segment for agents to listen to. You know, those people who are maybe struggling in this environment, partner with someone else. Get on a team. Get on someone who has systems in place and where you can maybe help your balance sheet out too, and not be paying for this and that and the other thing. Whereas you can join a team where they provide that for you for free.
Yeah.
Or
also mentor, right? So having somebody
having the
that can,
synergy around,
we can also talk you through, you know, if you have some of those challenges, it's somebody that's, you know, has more experience or has a different way of thinking about things is a great way to kind of bounce ideas and really get you over that hump, and, you know, so you can stay in the game for the long run.
Yeah, and I network with agents from across the country almost daily that are doing way more business than I am and picking up skills, what it's going to take to be in this market, and that's really what you have to do. You have to be learning based, skill based. You know, everyone can take a phone call, set someone up on a search, and start sending them properties and opening doors, but that's not really what's selling real estate these days.
Yeah, it's much more than that these days.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right, so if you're somebody out there who is either in the real estate industry or thinking about it and you want to get a little bit more advice or in-depth knowledge, Troy would be more than happy for you to have a conversation with him, and he can kind of
no
talk
obligation.
to you about, what those pitfalls might be, you know, what the market's looking like. He is more than happy to do that. So, Troy, if somebody wants to get hold of you, how do they reach you?
tendhometeam.com, and my email is there, troy@tendhometeam.com, or 206-504-3660.
All right, and then Mike. So we found out a vast amount of information today. All good stuff. I've loved every minute of the conversation. How do people find you? How do they, you know, what's the email address? What's your address for the, wine tasting room? Just so that our audience can go and sample the delicious wines that we've tasted today.
The best way to find out about us is threeofcups.com, all spelled out, THREEOFCUPS.com. Go to our website. It's got both the tasting room and the winery locations and their hours of business. The winery's only open on Saturdays, and
Okay.
then it's usually me hanging out there. So if you want to see me, and then
I suggest you go see Mike because he's got plenty of information, good knowledge, and good stories actually.
and then down at the tasting room, we rotate through a few people who all have day jobs, right? And
Yeah.
everybody kind of pitches in, and Lisa will be working either the winery or the tasting room at least one day a week as well
Okay.
too.
So, and they can pick up wine at the tasting rooms. Are these available in store anywhere?
Yeah, like right here in Woodinville, Hagen has this,
Awesome.
right? I'm
Hagen's got a great rack
they do.
of
They
all
do.
Woodinville wines.
Yeah.
I
They
love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, I'm delighted. I think I have actually seen your wine in there, and I will definitely be stopping by that aisle and buying a few for Sunday dinner. So, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, this was wonderful.
We didn't talk about a porch pounder today.
There are no porch pounders on this table.
No, none.
No, so our rosé is only 10.8% alcohol, so
So
I'd
that's a
say
porch pounder.
that's a porch pounder.
The winemaker
Thank
said
you,
porch
Mike.
pounder.
I love it when I don't have to say it.
We have to say it every episode.
I know. I think we missed it on the last one, but that's
Uh-oh.
okay. We'll make up for it. So I prefer porch pounder to the cougar juice. So
Yeah,
if
okay.
if it's choice between
Who
the
said
two,
cougar juice? Was that
I-
Craig Lill?
yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's funny.
All right. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thanks very much for listening. If you have enjoyed the show, please remember
Yes.
to
Like and subscribe.
and share. And if you're watching on YouTube,
Ding the dinger.
okay, that's like, subscribe,
Yes,
hit
right
the
on.
bell. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. Till next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.
Are your taste buds ready for an adventure? Look no further than Woodinville Sauce Co. Experience a burst of flavor like never before with our chef-created everything sauces. From Asian Q to sizzling dos aches and the irresistible blackberry grill sauce, our creations will take your dishes from ordinary to extraordinary. Available in stores including all 16 PCC community markets. Elevate your culinary game with Woodinville Sauce Co. today. Taste the passion, taste the perfection.